rate your performance there? Offensive line.
Offensive line, we had a pretty good day. Always things to work on to get better. There were some mistakes that were made. It's never as good as you think it is, never as bad as you think it is. So we watched the film and we got those things corrected. And, we look to improve this next week.
What are the things you need to improve on to take it to the next level?
I think just getting that gel and that feel back again. First game, got the kicks out the way. You kind of playing or something like that. It's a lot different from practice when the game starts flying around. But I think we did a good job, adjusting on the road. I pushed Clem there, and taking it. So I think we just keep improving.
How did Kennedy Palomalo do as the de facto OL coach for the game?
Coach Palomalo, Coach Clem, kind of like they're very in sync. We have meetings together, the running backs all the time. There's on the same page, so there was no drop off whatsoever.
And in the run game, how do you assess your performance there?
I think we did a good job in the run game. We started off a little bit slow. They were intent on not letting Paul Bergen to beat them early on. They wanted to see what Josh could do. And we showed them to stretch the ball down the front. Then they kind of backed up a little bit. That's why you kind of saw the surge of the run game in the second half. So, I think we did a good job. But again, there's always stuff to improve on.
So when you talk to Coach Clem after the game, it's after the game you're talking to him? Is that how that worked in Virginia? Well, what did he say?
When we got to film the next day, he told us, that we did a good job, but again, stuff to work on. We're improving every day. We're never satisfied. We came out the game with no sacks, but we're not satisfied. We want to get better. We want to get the pocket cleaner. When you have a guy as good as Josh back there, Paul Perkins, you want to make it as easy for them as you can because they're already guys who can make plays, when things go bad. So the easier we make it for them, the better chance we have to score.
Talk about you. We just talked to Coach about this, but you guys obviously extremely excited and for good reason. How do you guys stay on an even keel and just move forward? Not get too excited.
I don't think that's an issue. I think we've done a very good job as a team ignoring, no offense, but you guys and stuff that you say and write about because we saw how that worked out last year. When you buy into the hype, you don't want to put unexpected pressure on yourself. Coach Moore put yourself out all the time. That we work to our standard. We don't play to the opponent's standard. We don't worry about what you guys think, what anybody else thinks about us. We have a standard that we work to, and that's what we get graded on.
How's the defensive line look in practice without Eddie?
They look good. They're all talented guys. They're all good football players. Obviously, you can't replace Delegated Benenoch. There's very few guys in the country, if anybody at all, who can do the things that he does. But at the same time, we have good depth. We have guys who are going to step up and play hard. Like Dickerson, Ethan Yanku. Those guys are good players, and they work their ass off to embrace the opportunity that they're getting right now.
I'm sure you take great pride in this as well. Josh named the National and Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. Can you talk about, that and how you guys were instrumental in that as well?
It was a team effort. Receivers were catching passes. He was making fantastic throws. We were blocking our butts off. And I think that it gives us pride. As an offensive line, we don't get a lot of individual accolades. So when we have the leading rusher in the Pac-12, and we get a true freshman quarterback break all those records, it gives us pride, and we're happy for him.
Coach Moore was suggesting that it might be easier on you guys in pass protection because Josh is going to stay in the pocket more than Brett did, and his tendency to, freelance or try to move. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like the second game, you guys are that pocket passion is the block for because where he's going to be at all times, and it makes it hard on defensive ends because the defensive line because they have to win early. And I think the offensive line is good enough that we make it tough on guys to win early. Which is what you saw in the game. Was able to get the ball off quickly and get the ball downfield.
Where do you think Connor McDermott has made the biggest contribution since he became a starter kind of middle of last season?
I think he's brought a lot of consistency to that side of the offensive line, that type of spot. You know what you're going to get from Connor. He's consistent. He's a good technique. He's a big rangy guy with defensive ends that big. And he's done a great job, kind of helping his offensive line find that balance in that job. Good.